Right, well, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Methodist Church webinar series. This webinar is about incident reporting and thermal imaging. We'll be recording this webinar, and the recording and relevant information will be on the website after today, so probably tomorrow morning. At the bottom of your screen is a Q&A button. I'll just show this here. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button available. Post your questions as you think of them, and we'll be answering all questions at the end of the webinar. We have Greer with us who will be managing the Q&A, and she'll interrupt us if there's a relevant question that absolutely should be answered as and when. So tonight we've got Wendy Anderson. She's our property and insurance manager. She's been with Methodist Church in New Zealand for over 5 years, and she comes from an insurance and property background.
And with me this evening is Trudy Downs. She's our caretaker. She's been with the church for 3.5 years, and she was self-employed for a number of years, and managing a small painting and decorating company. Trudy, incident reporting process that you're going to take us through tonight, did that come from your painting and decorating company?
Yes, it did. We managed a very small crew, and they were adult apprentices and my husband, and none of them liked paperwork. For us to be able to do incident reporting, we needed a system where people who hated paperwork would still get involved. So it had to be really simple. It was by far better to have a system that generated conversations than it was having a system that generated paperwork. And I thought that was particularly relevant in the church because we've got so many people in that they've got very varied backgrounds as to how well they do or don't do paperwork. It was quite important that we had a system that was really simple to use. So everything that I'm going to go through now, which will be quite short, is available on our website under Caring for Our People. There's an incident reporting page there. And this is the process. What the aim of this process is to make sure that we keep people safe, that if something happens, we can future-proof that incident from happening ever again. And it doesn't matter whether we go from a Band-Aid through to an ambulance, the process is the same, and it's quite simple. So if you see something happen, or if you're involved in something happening, what we need to do is just make sure that we make the area safe so that the next person who comes along doesn't fall into the same incident. And once we've got that under control, then we report the incident to whoever is in charge at your parish or office, who will then look after the investigation if an investigation is needed, or who will look after the maintenance of the whatever that happened to make sure that it doesn't occur again. Now, as I've said, because the system comes from a painting and decorating company, and you might be thinking, is it truly relevant? One of the incidents that this particular system generated was one of our guys got attacked by a dog, and we went through the same process. Now, the dog charged him, he didn't actually bite, but this process created a conversation where everybody could say, what do we do in the future if we're in the same situation? And it was a case of sharing ideas among the team so that everybody thought about the incident, because many of us had not thought about dog charging us. And that's the same that can happen in a church building. You may not believe that something could happen, and when it does, it's best to have the conversation with a group as to what you do about it. So this is a blown up version of the website, what's available on it. Tried to make it really easy to see each of the features that you can download or explore further. The guidelines will go into more details about the ins and outs of the entire process, but we also have forms available. There's a printed version of a form. Very short, I must say, because as I said, it's not about the paperwork, it's about starting the conversations. We still need the paperwork to just track that we've been doing what we said we were going to be doing. But for those people who aren't into paperwork, there's also an online version of the report system. The online version goes through exactly the same process as the paper version, but it will email the report through. A copy will go to myself, a copy will go to the nominated person. So if you know your parish's email address where reports should be sent, it will go there. And a copy to the person who reported the incident as well. So this is the paper version. It's really simple. You don't need to understand the terminology because there's descriptions there and date and time, where the incident occurred. So for those of us who have large church complexes, we need to be quite specific about where the incident took place, because if we have to come back tomorrow or next week and go, well, actually, where did that occur? Where should I be looking to apply a fix or do some maintenance work? We need to know where exactly things happened. And also through the process of making the scene secure, we need to know whether there's still further action to be taken or whether it's fixed already. So really simple. This page has been set up, excuse me, Wendy, I'll just bring a piece of paper. If this is an A4, that's how big the report is. It's just an A5, half an A4. So it's really quick, really easy for people to be able to use that. Further on the web page, there's an incident investigation form. This possibly is the only portion that's not for beginners. This needs to be a dedicated person to go through the steps and processes, because we're looking at very specific, more serious incidents would use this form. And that would be our backup information should we have to talk to WorkSafe or any other of the authorities. There's a section about notifying WorkSafe. In the first instance, I'd always recommend that everybody just phone me and I'll sort it out for you. Takes away one less worry you don't have to think about, and I'll sort that out and do the coordination for you. And the last step is an incident register. Now, the version that we've made available on the website is great. I left an example in it. It's a spreadsheet, and the second sheet is an example of how I used it for our painting and decorating company. The idea of a register is that over time, once you log lots of incidents, you'll see trends. If there's an ongoing trend of from the painting and decorating company, somebody used to nick the ends of their fingers, so they'd be testing the wall for bumps and scrapes that they needed to fix. And when you run your hand beside a window, you can nick it on the little staples, and he was using his hand to test. He kept on nicking his fingers. And we go, well, actually, if you got your metal scraper and ran it down the side of the window, you'd hear it go ting when it hit metal. And it was as simple as that. Once we saw the trend occurring on the incident register, then we could go, actually, it's a really simple fix. And those incidents stopped occurring. So we were able to break the trend over time. And then obviously a new trend comes to the fore after that. But that's the idea of an incident register. You don't need to do an Excel spreadsheet, but you need to be consistent in what you do. If you wanted just to record everything on the back of a shopping receipt, it doesn't bother me so long as you do it consistently. And so that over time you can see, this is the incident, this is what we did about it. Over time you'll go, and this is the trend, and this is what we did about it. And that's pretty much incident reporting, future proofing. Sorry, that was Wendy's slide.
Should we bring us back, Trudy?
Yes, certainly. So just stop sharing on this.
So Trudy, I was wondering if no one's been hurt, but you're saying that all incidents, even near misses, have to be reported. why do we have to report something?
Well, yeah,
no one's hurt?
Absolutely, because there's some things, I know of one site that had a gas leak. Nobody was hurt, but the site had to be shut down until all of the gas had cleared. So no property was damaged, nobody was hurt, but the site was shut down. That's a near miss. Something could have happened, but it didn't actually happen. It's quite a major event, and that's the sort of thing that absolutely should be reported. So near misses, nobody hurt, still report it.
Okay, so I can understand that with a gas leak, that you would need to report that because of the possible consequences.
Yep.
But what about if someone just has a minor injury? Why do we have to report that?
Oh, it's the same as when I was talking about our apprentice who used to run his hand down beside the windows. That it could be, if you don't capture the fact that somebody's doing something really simple that had a really simple fix, you don't end up fixing it, which means that you're continuously having somebody creating a minor injury. So report the minor stuff as well, because it could be simple fixes that nobody's thought of doing before that will actually make our lives a whole lot better, particularly if you're teaching a new generation or having a behaviour, small behaviour changes through reporting and fixing incidents can be quite large outcomes, important outcomes.
I can imagine that. I mean, I suppose if you don't report the small ones, then the larger ones become smaller.
Yeah,
and less important.
Yeah.
How do you decide something as minor, major, or even worse?
Well, in the report form, hang on, I'll share that up again, excuse me. I'll just pull that form up again. On this form, it has the categories, and that will help you decide what's minor, major, or nothing happened, but it might have, it was a sticking plaster or less. That helps you decide the importance there. On the flip side of this form, which I haven't shown, it has a matrix for whoever's receiving the report to decide how urgent it is to action. So if it was a major outcome and the chances of it happening again is quite high, then they need to deal to it quite quickly. If it was a minor incident and the chances of it happening again is quite low, then just pay a little bit of attention and fix it when it's, as soon as convenient. So there's tools available on this report form that helps you make those decisions about whether something's major, minor, and also how quickly it needs to be fixed.
And do we have to use, so do people have to report on the forms on the website?
I'd recommend that we do use the forms on the website, mainly because it takes all the guesswork out of what it is that you're doing. If you've got forms that are similar and they're already in place, then keep using them. As I said, be consistent with whatever you do. And feel free, if your form is better than what's on the website, use that, but be consistent and have a system in place, because that's what we get judged against.
Oh, that sounds great. Sounds very, very simple.
Easy
to use.
Easy to use.
Yes.
So that's it for incident reporting. So Wendy, thermal imaging.
So I wanted to talk to you about thermal imaging. Trudy can find my first slide. I'll show you a photo of a thermographic camera or thermal imaging camera. And you can see that in the background, in the grey area, there's a turbine, and the camera is taking a photo of the turbine. Now, the yellow and even more so the white area is where that piece of machinery is hot. So that's called a hotspot. And so the camera has identified through infrared radiation, they can tell that the amount of radiation that's being emitted, and converts that to a temperature. So that would be able to tell you the temperature of that turbine in those areas that are yellow and even more so white. I've got another. This is a good slide. I like this one because it's quite what's clear to me, and I'm hoping that the viewers can see it as clearly as well. So this is a fire. Firemen use thermal imaging cameras to identify heat spots where they can't see because of the smoke. So if we look at the camera at the screen, behind is all we can see is smoke, but on the screen we can see there's actually some firemen, and so in that smoke, and also even more so, there's flames and heat behind the smoke. So that gives you an idea of, even though you can't see it, there is heat and there's fire behind what we cannot necessarily see. This is a NASA photo, as Peter so rightly told us before, and that gives you, it also gives you a good image. This is taken with one of the thermal imaging cameras, and that gives you a good indication of the hot areas of a dog. So that the dog's eyes and mouth are actually the heat areas in this picture. Now, the Concordia, who is our underwriting agent, they have purchased a thermal imaging camera, and they have also sent an electrician for training and he's been sent out now. They've just started assessing some of the higher risk churches in the Auckland area. They've just started doing that, and they get that to identify the hot spots where that could cause a fire incident.
So how do people know if they have an at-risk church?
Well, generally, the at-risk churches, I say, are the ones with the wiring that may be out of date. It may be very old, or it could be they have a very old switchboard, or even worse, they have a switchboard that's overloaded. So it may have been that there may have been an electrician a few years ago or a number of years ago that's added an appliance, maybe in the kitchen, and that's gone on to been added to the switchboard, and the switchboard is becoming overloaded with all these extra fuses.
Yeah. So if people have got an at-risk church, how do they get access to the thermal imaging service?
The thermal imaging service has been prioritised by Concordia, the underwriting company for the All Churches Insurance Bureau, and they will look at the older churches, starting in the Auckland area. It's going to take some time, but if people were wanting to have thermal imaging carried out, it's around $200-300, and it could save thousands or tens of thousands, even millions of dollars, should there be a switchboard arc or some arcing on the switchboard that caused heat or the switchboard to heat up, and that could cause a fire. It's one of the high or the major causes of fire in buildings.
So when you said $200 to $300 for the thermal imaging, is that if you jump outside of the Concordia program?
Yes, sorry if I didn't make that clear. Yes. So Concordia have identified the high risk churches in buildings at the moment. They are prioritised, and they'll slowly work down through the Auckland area and then move through the country.
So if as part of the program, is it free?
As part of the program, it's free. Yes, that's right.
Is it? So how often should buildings have a thermal image taken of them?
It's generally on a regular basis. It's best to have the thermal imaging carried out, but also ad hoc is another good time to test or assess different areas of the church, and also when work is going to be carried out, it is a good idea to actually assess or use the camera to identify an area before you start work on an electrical rewiring or a electrical work, and then afterwards to make sure that that work has been carried out correctly.
Right. So if people have overloading problems in their churches, do you want them to put their hands up? See if they can get bumped up in the Concordia program?
You could do. Quite often it's naked to the eye.
Yeah.
Especially arcing in the switchboard. You cannot see it. And it's like an invisible, an invisible danger. If a church suspected that that there could perhaps be hotspots within the electrical wiring system, their cabling, or perhaps in some of the plugs or switchboard, they could call me, and I could see if we could have them bumped up. But it may be more economical in the long term to actually have that carried out themselves.
So, and that's why you said that the image of the firemen was quite an interesting one, because to our eyes we couldn't see anything but smoke, but the camera picked up the image of the firemen. So what we're dealing with is, as you say, is an invisible hazard of arcing in behind the walls or in behind our switchboards.
That's exactly right. And I mean, something could happen when there's no one in the church or there's no one in the building, and the fire breaks out. I mean that's a blessing as well if there is no one here, of course, but there's no one there to actually prevent any further damage or total loss. Yeah.
So I'll just put in a plug here for incident reporting. If you had regular problems with your electrical, overloads or sparking, and you'd been keeping a track of them through incident reporting, then you'd have a better idea of going to Wendy and going, hey, we do have a problem, look, here's our records, bump us up on the list to get our thermal imaging done.
So we also have to consider the fact that the other churches are also involved. So although the Methodist Church is part of the All Churches Insurance Bureau, there are other denominations as well.
Yeah. So it's a big program for Concordia.
It's a big program. And I don't know if they are going to change it or if they're going to improve it or what they intend to do. But if there is a prevention of a major fire, then it's money well spent, and it's also a worthwhile exercise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's all from us, and we have no questions at the moment. So that was quick and easy. Thank you for your attention. We will have further monthly webinars. Our next topic in August from me will be asbestos management. I am trying to push through at the moment an easier system than what's currently contained in bricks and mortar. And Wendy?
I'll be covering using the CB&L funds. So it's the use of CB&L funds, what it's for, and what are some of the rules and procedures surrounding that.
Excellent. Now, all feedback or topic suggestions will be gratefully received. Wendy and I are picking topics that we think are relevant, but if you've got things that are urgent on your plate, then please let us know. And the recording will be made available shortly on the website with relevant information for reference purposes.
So thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in and your interest in attending.
Ka kite.
Bye-bye.